closely associated with laughter. People normally laugh when something is funny. So assume that laughter is naturally related to, liên quan tới một cái gì đó. The result is that laughter là những cái tràng cười, tiếng cười, is not recognized as it should be. Laughter is not simply a reaction to finding something amusing. Và ra đây người ta mới kết luận là cái tràng cười không chỉ đơn giản là một phản ứng với một cái gì mà mình thấy nó thú vị, vui nhộn. A similar gì đó may be triggered, mà cái gì đó nó được tạo ra by a range of negative feelings. Khi mà có nhiều cái cảm xúc mà nó tiêu cực thì mình sẽ tạo ra cái gì đó. If we understand this, we will no longer gì đó by, thì cái này nó sẽ là bị động với by, nên là mình kết hợp với câu ngữ pháp đó. People laughing unexpectedly. Thì chúng ta có 5 chỗ trống, 21 đến 35. Ở đây các bạn phân tích trước, các bạn đoán trước cái gì đó thì mình nghe đây. Nó là một cái bài summary, cho nên là nó sẽ không có phải là nó y chang như vậy, không phải là nó đọc y chang như vậy, biết cái đặc điểm của đó. Mình phải hiểu được cái ý đó để mình bóc cái từ đó mình quăng vô cái summary. Cho nên nghe summary là nghe khó. Rồi, cái phần số 2 từ câu 36 tới câu 40 thì chúng ta phân tích cái câu hỏi trắc nghiệm này. What does the speaker say about cathartic psychotherapy? Người ta cho mình 3 cái đáp án đó, mình nghe coi cái nào basically lead to how much pain laughter releases. Laughter releases various negative emotions. It is possible to estimate how much pain is released each time a person laughs. Thì không biết là cái nào mình sẽ nghe. Câu số 37, 37. According to the lecture, losing self-control. A is often beneficial. B is acceptable when we're children. Losing self-control là mất sự kiểm soát của bản thân. C là makes feelings of pain and sadness last longer. Number 38. Which of the following regarding recent research does the lecturer not suggest? Như vậy đây là dạng câu phủ định, là dạng câu loại trừ. Vì ở đây người ta cho 3 đáp án, thì sẽ có 2 cái có đề nghị, và có một cái là not suggest, một cái không đề nghị, thì đó là cái đáp án mình cần. Thì đây mình có 3 cái là the way people store emotions is more physical than mental. B là people find it easier to laugh than to express other emotions. C. Laughing replaces the need to cry or get angry. Nghiên cứu gần đây nó có đề cập tới 2 cái trong 3 cái, thì một cái không đề cập là cái các bạn loại suy ra. Câu số 39. The lecturer feels that people in the medical professions must, medical profession là mình phải không? Trong cái nhân viên y tế này thì sẽ sao? A là encourage patients to understand the seriousness of their conditions. B là recognize that people do not necessarily laugh to hide true feelings. Ở đây có động từ hai là gì các bạn? Động từ hai là che giấu cái cảm xúc thật. Câu này nó nói là nhận ra là người ta không nhất thiết phải cười để che giấu cảm xúc thật, tức là cười mà bên trong họ không có cười. Câu C là stop patients laughing inappropriately, ngăn không cho bệnh nhân cười một cách không hợp lý. Câu số 40. What does the lecturer conclude? Kết luận nè. Kết luận cái gì? By khi nói rằng saying about the catharsis of laughter. A. It helps people to forget distressing memories. B. That people find themselves in a position of control. C. That people can benefit là có lợi á, from seeing the humor. Humor là sự hài hước. In unfortunate circumstances, trong những tình huống không may mắn. Rồi, bữa nay mình sẽ nghe cái phần này và với có hai cái yêu cầu nha. Bây giờ các bạn nghe. Rồi, bây giờ cô sẽ không có nhiều màn hình nữa nha. Các bạn có cái giấy của mình rồi. Cô sẽ nghe.
Carefully to the lecture and answer questions 31 to 40. Good morning, everyone. I do hope you didn't get too wet getting here this morning. The subject for my talk, I think we could all do with some to take our minds off this atrocious weather, is laughter. The laughter I want to look at is specifically related to psychological therapy and the treatment of physiological disorders, something we've been looking at over the last week or so. Now, when we start talking about psychological therapy, laughter isn't something that immediately springs to mind. Therapy is a serious business, and it's generally approached with an appropriate degree of seriousness. After all, people seek treatment and enter therapy for serious reasons. They're often at critical junctures in their lives, and they need professional help. The question is, how is it that laughter can be such a vital part of the therapy process? It's normally identified with humour, and thus generally deemed appropriate only in lighter, more frivolous circumstances, when it's acceptable to find a situation funny. Perhaps this is why so many people in the medical world feel that laughter is frequently misunderstood and undervalued as a cathartic, healing process. Now, humour certainly is one trigger for laughter, but it isn't the only trigger. If we take as a starting point the fact that laughter is a physical process that releases emotional pain, it follows that stress, anxiety and tension may prompt the same response. Psychologists frequently point out that humans don't laugh because they're happy. They're happy because they laugh. Once we accept that laughter and pain are related, we are less likely to be shocked when people laugh in all sorts of painful, even tragic situations. Cathartic psychotherapy utilizes laughter as an essential medium for healing emotional pain. It's specific to the release of anger, fear, and boredom. When people laugh, they free themselves of painful feelings. The amount of pain the body releases during a single burst of laughter is immeasurable. But we know that the body will keep discharging pain cathartically until there's no longer a need. The only obstacle to the process is the self-constraint we learn to impose on ourselves during our early years. We're taught the virtues of self-control from infancy, and any loss of that control during emotional outpouring is discomforting. We fail to realize that when we lose control, we actually gain in many other ways. Our cultural preference for processing feelings cognitively, instead of feeling them physically, maintains and prolongs emotional distress. Patients who have had upbringings during which feelings were suppressed may have quashed their ability to laugh, cry, and become angry. Conditions can help individuals regain these cathartic processes, enabling them to release deep-rooted emotions that may be an obstacle to happiness. Only now has research begun to validate the notion that emotions are stored in the body rather than the mind. Recently developed cathartic techniques allow practitioners to teach patients how to access their hidden emotions and release them. The more catharsis the patient experiences, the more rapidly he or she progresses through the healing process. Laughter is probably the least threatening cathartic process, at least to the person expressing the laughter, and so it has an essential role. It's often a stepping stone to other forms of emotional release, like crying or showing rage. So why, you might ask, has the mental health community been so slow to accept laughter as a healing tool? Well, for reasons I've already outlined. Like any expression of the true self, laughter is radical and revolutionary, and laughing at what is seemingly misfortune upsets conformity. We in the medical professions must challenge the antiquated view that adult laughter is silly and inappropriate. We have to ensure that patients don't reject the healing power of their laughter, in the fear that others will see them as making light of their issues. Traditionally, mental health practitioners have viewed laughter as a way of hiding painful emotion. In contrast, cathartic psychotherapy understands that laughter releases emotion. Through laughter, feelings erupt from within into the outside world. If people suppress laughter, they also stifle the release of pain. The catharsis of laughter doesn't change people's circumstances, but it does change the way people relate to those circumstances. It enables them to take a different view, a view from which terrible misfortune can seem so much more bearable. This allows people to remember, to feel, and to explore without fearing that they'll be trapped by what they can't control. Life's most tragic events often have an essence of absurdity, and this can be the trigger point for laughter. Some people deal with emotional pain instinctively and come along to therapy already laughing and crying. There are many others, however, that need assistance. That is the end of section 4. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Listen carefully to the lecture